We were pretty excited about it. We left Marshall kind of wanting a little bit more. With Grand Rapids, the meet Friday and the meet Saturday, I feel like the team as a whole accomplished what we wanted to do. Big goal last weekend was to increase our standing in the conference to help us get better seating, better flights, better heats, and I think we accomplished that for the most part. A lot of athletes ran a lot faster. Jada ran faster. A lot of our men in the 200, 400 ran a lot faster. Our throwers and our jumpers, they increased their standing, so now hopefully they're going to be seated into the final flight. So that really, the whole idea of getting into that final flight is about when you go into conference, if you're in one of the first flights, because usually there's 2 flights, maybe sometimes 3, depending on the field size. But if you're in the first flight, you really jump or throw as best you can, and then you have to sit around and wait for the next 12 to 15 athletes to compete, and really playing that waiting game to see if you made the finals. The good thing about being in the higher seated flight is you know exactly what you have to do to make the finals. And I always feel a lot more comfortable when our athletes are in, you know, the faster or the higher seated flight. So for us, it's about just making sure that we set ourselves up to have the most success for our indoor conference. And I think we walked away doing that. We had a pretty good meet across the board, and a lot of freshmen showed up, and freshmen, sophomores, which is the majority of our team, showed up and did very well at that meet. So I think it just kind of speaks volumes to where we are at this part of the season. And I've always been a big fan of competing that weekend before, especially with indoor conference, so we don't really lose that energy and that focus going into it. And you know, this week of practice is really about just tapering down and making sure they feel good, you know, to get on the plane. And the big thing we talked about is just have everything in your life in order come Thursday night when you go to bed, and then for the next 72 to 96 hours, it's all about competing. Well, we're really excited. You know, we talked about our goals as a team, you know, and we'll keep those with the team. But as a whole, you know, I was talking with Coach Felix about this earlier. We are almost entirely made up on the women's side of freshmen and sophomores. We have a couple juniors, and then I think we only have 3 or 4 seniors on the women's side. Men obviously have a lot more upperclassmen, but 80% of our team is freshmen, sophomores on that women's side, and I think it kind of speaks volumes to what we set out to do a few years ago when it came to the recruiting, and that is where a lot of you know, the bang of the team is right now. And the youth has us really excited. And the funny thing about the youth is it has such a big spectrum. You can compete really well one day, and the next day you kind of come down. So as we get a little bit older, that spectrum of competition stays a little bit higher. And someone like Clarissa, who as a freshman could go out and have this amazing meet and then kind of come back to earth the next meet, you know, she wasn't super happy about some of her competition this past weekend, and she still jumped 179, which was good enough to win the meet handedly. So we feel really excited about that, so that when that spectrum and that floor is raised, it allows us to just have those bigger, greater performances. Someone like Jada Roberson, too, who has run so well in the 60 and the 200 this year, she's come into her own. And then on the men's side, Christian Williams, he finally broke that 7-meter barrier indoors. It was a big PR for him. Even Alan Wiggins, one of our freshman shot putters, he had a big monster throw there, you know, just foot fouled a little bit, but he's primed to explode. Abby Foster, Chandra Fullwood had a great throw. Terissa Russell, you know, she finally broke that 14-meter barrier in the shot, and Timberly, a freshman, is right behind her. So just as a whole, we're looking at a lot of talented young men and women who are very young. And with the work that Coach Booth and Coach Felix are doing right now with recruiting, we're really excited. We have a couple athletes signed up, but once April hits, we feel like we're going to just bring in another great group of kids. And again, next year, you'll start to see those really talented freshmen we have come into their own even more and succeed as sophomores in that sophomore class that we good juniors. And you'll just see, hopefully, another group of freshmen coming in. And that's really our goal, is just to make sure that as the program continues to take those steps, that we as coaches take those steps to bring in the right men and women who can keep raising that floor and giving us the ability to reach new heights. And I really think, you know, a big thing we talk about the team is just do everything you can to set yourself up to have a successful opportunity, and don't really let anything affect you. And I really think our team has done a good job of that. Everyone seems very focused on what they need to do. You know, I can see that there's kind of that air of conference. It's conference week where we're tapering back. Everyone is just really trying to make sure that they're not having anything that's going to take away from that success this week, and you can tell it. Like I told the team, get your homework done now. get everything in order so that when we leave on Friday, the only thing that matters, over those next 72 hours is competing as best we can as a team. And you can see that from this team. And like the freshmen that, stepped foot on this campus months ago, you can see them now starting to understand competition, understand competing as a team, and overall, we're just excited now that we actually get to go have a scored meet. Football, basketball, baseball, there's a winner and a loser every time. This is our opportunity for the year to have a winner and a loser by the point. So we're excited to see where we stand and really set us up for what I believe is going to be a very successful outdoors that really kind of, is geared towards the strengths of the program right now. So as best we can do this indoor season, I think is what's really going to be the driving factor for us for the rest of the year going into that. Well, a lot of times with our younger athletes, we just ask them to go out there and perform their best. There's other athletes that, they have it in their head and they have kind of those expectations on them. My goal as a program is to not put individual expectations on student athletes. I'd like to find young men and women who are just geared with expectations in themselves. You don't have to convince somebody to go out there and work hard. And the student athletes, obviously a couple athletes that come to mind, Jada Roberson and Clarissa Cutliff, they've had such a great indoor season that we just tell them, look, do whatever you can, go out there, just keep doing your thing, and just set yourself up for success. On the men's side, Christian Williams has been doing very well. He's really started to come into his own. Pablo Espitia, he now gets to, do a heptathlon at full health. And so he's excited about that. And, just across the board, I think there's going to be people that are going to kind of emerge that maybe we're looking for this meet to just be an experience for them, and they may end up giving us an experience. But as a whole, I think we try to take that stigma off of scoring points. We just try to say, look, it's all about making finals. From there, you do your thing, and I think the coaching staff as a whole has done a very good job of finding the self-motivated student athlete that's going to come in and say, yeah, I want to score points. I need to put that pressure on myself. And I feel 4 or 5 years ago we had to put that pressure on them. Now, we don't want to put too much pressure because the student athletes are so hard on themselves when it comes to that. So what we try to do is just give them the environment to succeed, and not try to take away from that, but just do everything we can to build them up to have that success. But as a whole, I try not to pick out individual student athletes because I told everybody at the end of the day, you may look at the performance list and there may be somebody in first and then there's a teammate who's in 10th. I don't care if we switch that performance at conference as long as those points and those performances are coming from FIU athletes. So regardless of who it is when it goes out there, as long as they're our team and they're doing it together, that's all that matters.